But first, let's get into it. What a week! The second Trump administration is 17 days young, and it's clear that Donald Trump's overwhelming flurry of executive orders and firings and illegal budget freezes amount to a total MAGA takeover of the federal government. Sorry, I'm hanging by a thread. Instrumental in the effort is our South African billionaire co-president Elon Musk, who was granted a top-secret security clearance and designated a special government employee, or in the lingo of Musk's online fanboys, retarded government employee. They're bringing it back. It's not me. You fucking pussies. On Monday, Trump confirmed that Musk and his DOGE associates had gained access to the Treasury Department's payment system, which processes trillions of dollars of transactions for the entire federal government. I miss the days when Musk only controlled several massive corporations, the fortune of a small country, one of the world's largest communications platform, and the satellites over Ukraine. Simpler times. I will be so different than Joe Biden. All she had to say. Crazy different, Whoopi. You'll love it. Oh, well. The top civil servant of the Treasury, David Liebrick, resigned on Friday after reportedly pushing back on Trump officials who are asking about the Treasury's ability to stop certain payments. And yet, here we all are, shitting Liebricks. Once Liebrick was gone, Trump's newly sworn-in Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, relented. This is Scott Bessent, by the way. Great work, gay Jeb Bush. And here's what's fucked up. I mean, a lot of things are fucked up. But one fucked up thing is Scott Bessent is gay. He's married to a guy named John. This is his house. How dare this man bring shame upon the gayest house I've ever seen? Magnificent. A reporter asked Trump about the decision on Monday.
Why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him. And it's only if we agree with him.
Hey, man, quick flag. You just described why it's bad. Oh, well, on Tuesday, Senators Elizabeth Warren and Ron Wyden called for the Government Accountability Office to open an investigation into DOGE's takeover at Treasury. Oh, I'm sorry. This just in, I'm receiving word that DOGE has shut down the Government Accountability Office. Damn, those kids move fast. Their little coder fingers can't keep up. 3 federal employee unions have since sued the Treasury, accusing Bessent of violating federal law when he shared sensitive data with Musk. Wrote the lawyers, people who must share information with the federal government should not be forced to share information with Elon Musk or his DOGE, and federal law says they do not have to. Exactly. The fact that I received a federal loan during the pandemic for my fledgling dildo company, which was called Shove It or Leave It, is not meant to be public information. It's true that money could not overcome that the most upvoted comment on our subreddit said, "This is a shape for no one." But like we used to say at Shove It HQ, no pain, nobody can know about this. Democratic leaders said they would introduce legislation to stomp DOGE. Here's Senator Chuck Schumer.
So today, Leader Jeffries and I are joining together to push legislation to prevent unlawful meddling in the Treasury Department's payment systems and protect Americans across the country. We call our legislation Stop the Steal.
Look, this is what it's going to look like, all right? This is what part of the resistance is going to be for a while. Proposing new laws that all boil down to, hey, stop that, which will not pass. But the good news is some of them will have bitchy little names. He's out there, he's trying. Wednesday, in response to that lawsuit, Justice Department attorneys said that they would temporarily restrict DOGE staff from accessing the Treasury payment systems, which will be in place until a hearing in a couple of weeks. Hey, enjoy the last couple of weeks with sole custody of your Social Security number. Do something fun with it. Fill out some forms. Well, none of this stops at Treasury. Trump has dispatched Musk to at least half a dozen government agencies. He has sought to illegally shut down USAID, the agency charged with delivering humanitarian aid overseas, and ultimately, that's on them for refusing to order even one child-sized submarine. In 2023, USAID handled some $40 billion in appropriations, less than 1% of the federal budget, to fund HIV prevention in Uganda, war relief in Ukraine, maternal health assistance in Zambia, and more. In addition to often being the difference between life and death for aid recipients, these programs build goodwill around the world and help protect Americans from diseases. Just as a basis of comparison, if we extend the Trump tax cuts, that will cost $4.2 trillion over 10 years, most of which will go to the wealthiest people and corporations. But let's be nuanced and careful in a way that our society no longer values, and point out that some of that does go to working people. Let's pretend we live in a world where we still debate policy. Okay? According to the Treasury Department, in a report earlier this year from before those bureaucrats were beheaded or whatever, if you kept the cuts for people making under $400,000 a year, which is what Biden and Harris supported, but didn't extend the estate tax cuts and corporate cuts and cuts for the wealthiest families, that would only be $1.8 trillion over 8 years, which means that you are still saying that you want to increase the debt by $200 billion a year to make rich people richer while complaining about a rounding error that saves lives and projects American power and values around the world. And now, having won the argument, we celebrate. Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda Gorman has been arrested. Sorry. On Monday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters that he was now the acting administrator of USAID, attempting to fold the agency into the State Department, even though Congress created it as a distinct entity over 60 years ago. Rubio, who used to believe in USAID before he put on that ring somewhere between Hobbiton and Isengard, said that USAID may be abolished consistent with applicable law. It's like we're on an airplane that's been hijacked, and Air Marshal Marco Rubio stands up and said, "Don't worry, I'm going to make sure that we are only rerouted from Fort Lauderdale to Bratislava in a way that complies with FAA regulations." After trying and failing to gain access to USAID headquarters, Democrats held a protest outside the building alongside over 100 employees, calling Trump's funding freeze and potential elimination of the agency unconstitutional.
There is no question that the billionaire class trying to take over our government right now is doing it based on self-interest. We have not months, we have not weeks, but we have days to stop the destruction of our democracy. We have work to do.
Project 2025 was kind of a misnomer, really more like Project January. It was Senator Chris Murphy. And then there are the buyouts. As of Thursday, of the millions of workers who were offered incentives to resign last week, 60,000 federal employees had accepted the offer, or about 3% of the workforce, so they are on their way to their goal of hitting 5 to 10%. But come on, folks, take the deal and hit the road. Where else is Undersecretary for Management Kyle Rittenhouse supposed to sit? On Tuesday, 4 employee unions sued the Office of Personnel Management over the buyout, as basic information is lacking from the offer when Congress has appropriated no funds for this purpose, and the statutory basis and appropriations for this promise remain unclear. Then on Thursday, a federal judge halted the buyout just 11 hours before the deadline set for federal employees by the Trump administration to decline or accept. On the one hand, this is all terrible. On the other hand, oh, the soothing feeling of a deadline extension. That little undiagnosed ADHD in here is just like, that feels good. Now federal employees have a whole other weekend to feel like they are rolling the dice on a job they need to feed their fucking families. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are some of your relationship green flags? We often hear about red flags we should avoid, but what if we focus more on looking for green flags in friends and partners? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify green flags, actively practice them in your relationships, and embody the green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, or just working on yourself, it's time to form relationships that love you back. Here's a green flag. If you're at a party with someone you're dating, and they can tell that you want to leave and don't make you say, we got to get out of here. You know, maybe they want to go too, but they don't wait to be, they don't, you know, they you read each other at a room. You kind of feed off each other at a party and you say, you know what? Hey, do you want to get out of here? Yes. Thank you for not making me come over and find you and beg to leave this godforsaken event. So there's an example. If you've benefited from therapy, feel free to share your experience. For example, it's helpful to learn positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/loveit to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Lovett. Everybody needs therapy. You need therapy. Get some therapy. And you can get therapy with BetterHelp. Meanwhile, the CIA on Tuesday became the first intelligence agency to offer buyouts to its entire workforce as Trump tries to shape it to its agenda. Stay strong, woke spies. You know two things. Trans women are women and Epstein didn't kill himself, and we need that point of view inside of our government. What happened to this country? I remember when the CIA used to offer people buyouts, they'd say bye as they pushed you out of a helicopter. The CIA also sent the White House an unclassified email listing all of the employees hired in the last 2 years, a move that one former CIA official called a counterintelligence disaster. I remember back in the day, you had to sneak into Langley disguised as a firefighter, make some geek shit his pants, and then quietly dangle into a laser room without sweating too much to get your hands on a list like that. The actual defense offered by the people that did this was that the list only had the employee's first name and last initial, which is literally from the fucking Simpsons.
For privacy's sake, let's call her Lisa S. No, that's too obvious. Let's say L. Simpson.
The fuck? Senator Bernie Sanders remained clear-eyed about our current situation.
This country under Trump is moving rapidly toward authoritarianism, but we cannot just play defense. We have got to be on the offense. Please never forget that the agenda that we are fighting for is widely supported by working families all across this country, and we must continue to fight for that agenda.
Yeah, man, of course. But right now, Elon Musk and a group of guys who didn't go to prom are trying to find the person responsible for the Sacagawea dollars. Bernie put out this video, and it's a great just sort of, hey, don't despair. Here are some steps we can take. And I found it's nothing revelatory, but it's worth watching. On Wednesday, the AFL-CIO, America's largest federation of labor unions, filed a lawsuit to block Musk from invading the Department of Labor. Unfortunately, the only labor department Musk refuses to enter is the one where his kids are being born. Meanwhile, some have questioned whether Democrats were falling into a trap by protesting outside USAID, with some strategists saying that fighting over foreign aid was a misstep because federal bureaucracy and foreign aid in particular are broadly unpopular, which is certainly true. But it's hard to argue that a better tactic would be to let Trump dismantle USAID than speak up when he's about to dismantle something popular because they are targeting USAID to set a precedent that he's allowed to dismantle stuff. Democratic strategists argue that the USAID fight is emblematic of a larger trap that the party has fallen into, defending institutions people despise rather than focusing on the issues that will most affect voters, like, say, Trump trying to eliminate the Department of Education. But what should Democrats be doing in response? In a piece he wrote for The Bulwark on Tuesday, former New Jersey Congressman Tom Malinowski outlined 5 ways Democrats could fight back. Number 1, appropriately enough, listicles. House Democrats could fight Trump's illegal funding freeze by announcing that they're not giving Speaker Mike Johnson a single vote to fund the government or raise the debt ceiling until they have a solid guarantee that the Trump administration will spend federal funds as Congress directs. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries seems to be thinking along the same lines, writing in a Monday letter to the caucus that he planned to use the March 14th federal funding deadline to block Trump from freezing appropriated funds. Democrats should also fight Trump in the courts, countering his flood of executive orders and firings with a flood of legal challenges, and giving the ways that social media has harmed kids and poisoned our politics. Malinowski writes, any Democrat who can't take advantage of this and run a populist campaign against our Bond villain tech overlords should have their politician's license revoked. I don't disagree that Democrats defending unpopular institutions is a trap, but I think it's worth asking why it's a trap in the first place, because we ought to hope and believe possible a world where politics is no longer so stupid and sensational that protesting the violation of the basic separation of powers in favor of aid that not only save lives but antagonizes our adversaries and extends American influence isn't a trap, or more likely that we have Democrats who know it's a trap and see it's a trap, but also manage to spring that trap without getting their legs stuck in it. In the short term, yes, we have to have these legal fights, which we need to have everywhere. We have public fights we need to fight in a way that draws attention to the absolute worst and least popular acts of this administration. But we also ought to be thinking, how do we build credibility as an opposition to reach enough people and to know we have the trust of enough people so that when we convey the threat, people believe us? And to me, that starts with showing up. more is more. That's why it was great to see Senate Democrats holding the floor this week to try to draw attention to the OMB nominee and Project 2025 architect Russell Vogt. And it won't just be about these leaders showing up. It will be about all of us showing up. We all have to show up just as soon as I get back from shooting traitors. Gotta put it into the universe. Just gotta put it into the universe a little bit. Survivor with food. Speaking of falling into traps, we also had this lovely exchange in the House Oversight hearing where Ranking Member Jerry Connolly objected to Nancy Mace's endless demonizing of trans people.
The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur in the LGBTQ community and the transgender community.
Just from the beginning, gentlelady is very generous. I move we opt for treacherous wench or hell crow or bog clown. Mace responded with this.
And
Tranny. I don't really care. You want penises in women's bathrooms, and I'm not going to have it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Let
It's
Chairman,
disgusting.
This is neither here nor there, but you know when you're out and you go to use the bathroom and you realize it's a situation where there are two one-person bathrooms with locking doors and yet they're still labeled men's and women's and there's a line at the quote-unquote men's room, but the women's room is open? Yeah, I'm bringing a penis into that women's bathroom. I'm not sorry about it. Connolly went on to say this.
to me, a slur is a slur. And here in the committee, a level of decorum requires us to try consciously to avoid slurs. You just heard the gentlelady actually actively, robustly repeat it. And I would just ask the chairman that she be counseled that we ought not to be engaged. We can have debate and policy discussion without offending human beings who are our fellow citizens.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, isn't it? Here's the problem. Nancy Mace knows it's a slur. That's why she said it. She was hoping Connolly would respond exactly how he responded. Connolly's heart is in the right place here, but he should have figured out what was happening when, before saying the slur, Nancy Mace set up a fucking ring light. We cannot be hall monitors blowing a whistle while the school burns to the fucking ground. Declaring offense, declaring words as beyond acceptable, even if you are right. Even if you are right that if these people had any shame or compassion, of course they would not do this. It's just not going to cut it. You brought a rule book to a knife fight. Here's an idea, and this one's free. Next time Mace unleashes a torrent of slurs and screams about penises in women's bathrooms, you can just introduce a motion to make Mace the official penis sheriff. If she wants a show, then sure, give it to her, but make sure the show is The Dark Knight.
I know you're gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna have to try and enjoy it even more.
Spoiler alert, he does exactly what the Joker wants and gets his whole police department exploded. Also, Slumdog Millionaire wins Best Picture instead of this. And let's not forget, Jerry Connolly is in this job because he defeated AOC in the race for ranking member of the Oversight Committee. Here's AOC responding to Nancy Mace a few weeks ago.
What Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing are endangering all women and girls. Because if you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this? They won't come up with an answer. And what it inevitably results in are women and girls who are primed for assault because people are going to want to check their private parts in suspecting who is trans and who is cis and who's doing what. And so the idea that Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? Who would that be? In order, because she wants to suspect and point fingers at who she thinks is trans, is disgusting.
House Democrats decided to give Connolly the microphone, even though AOC knows how to use it. And now he's sitting in that chair instead of one of the best communicators in Democratic politics. All I'm saying is the days of begging Republicans for decorum are over. It's weak shit. But hey, Jerry, if you don't grow a pair, at least you can use whatever bathroom you want. What are we fucking doing here? Point of decorum. You call it. You're gonna go to the teacher. You think that's gonna work in 2025? You going to the fucking teacher to complain that somebody used a bad word? Not gonna work. Not gonna work. Wish it was. Wish we lived in the world where that was something that could work. But it doesn't. And in fact, James Comer, who is the chair of that committee, turned it into a fucking joke. He's like, I'm not really up on the latest slang. I don't know what's a slur or not with these LGBT people. So you got fucking slapped in the face, and now you look like a little bitch. Speaking of going down the toilet, on Tuesday, Trump held a press conference alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and said that the United States will take control of the Gaza Strip.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it.
Have you been to Vegas? The U.S. doesn't even have control of the Strip in our own country. Trump called for Palestinians to leave Gaza, calling it a demolition site and saying that they should get a good, fresh, beautiful piece of land. Trump made clear that he wasn't talking about simply rebuilding Gaza in order for Palestinians to return, but something else entirely.
One, where exactly are you suggesting that they should go? And two, are you saying they should return after it's rebuilt? And if not, who do you envision living there?
I envision world people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East.
God, I hate it when he's cute. Trump's plan sparked outrage around the world, even among some Republicans here at home. Democrats slammed the idea as horrifying and insane, with Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, who sits on the Foreign Relations Committee, calling it ethnic cleansing. Chris Murphy warned that the whole debacle was a distraction, saying, "I have news for you. We aren't taking over Gaza, but the media and the chattering class will focus on it for a few days, and Trump will have succeeded in distracting everyone from the real story, the billionaires seizing control to steal from regular people." We're not taking over Gaza? Not with that attitude. Speaking of downward slides toward oblivion, on Wednesday, Mitch McConnell fell again, tumbling down the Senate stairs after voting for Trump's HUD nominee, Scott Turner. And unfortunately, all the king's horses and all the king's men have been furloughed. Then, later in the day, he reportedly fell a second time, allegedly while carrying a plate of food. "Don't worry, I'm okay," said a chuckling Mitch McConnell through what can only be described as a death mask of mashed potatoes. In other spill news, a big rig full of eggs crashed on the 5 freeway in Los Angeles on Monday, causing major delays through East LA. No word on the condition of each of the eggs. The truck had approximately $1 million worth of eggs inside, so it was about 4 dozen. And in other egg news, 100,000 eggs were stolen from the back of a distribution trailer in central Pennsylvania. We got a lot of great merchandise today. We got omelets, we got quiche, we got Benedicts, we got over easy, under easy, we got shakshuka. Hey, come on, a gorgeous lady like you could use a frittata. Am I wrong? I can see it. I can see you in a frittata. Meanwhile, this fucking guy is trying to kill me on the matzo brie. We got custard. All right. And finally, for a $15 donation, the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium will name a worm after your ex, feed it to a sloth, and send you a video of it. But doctor, my ex is the sloth. Also just, man, I don't know how you could lose a breakup harder than paying a zoo to name a worm. I can't think of anything that could prove to Jessica more that she was right than to find out there's a worm named Jessica being fed to a sloth.